In my previous Cyberpunk subgenres video, I've explained what each subgenre is and listed a bunch of movies, games, books, and many more, but actually I also wanted to talk about music genres, but if I did that, the video would be too long, at least for me. So here's a video of my opinion on what music genre would fit with each Cyberpunk subgenre, and since this is just my observation/opinion, you can add more ideas in the comments if your favorite isn't mentioned. Cyberpunk theme music is quite varied. It can be anything from new wave to metal, some even include pop in their tracks. So I tried to listen to and research a couple of soundtracks from Cyberpunk movies like Blade Runner, Cyber City 00808, The Matrix in 1999, and many other newer movies, anime and games. Most common genres are 80s music like electronica, synthwave, new wave, and dark synth. These genres rely heavily on synthesizers, so adding songs with synthesizer sounds is one of the simplest ways to make your playlist sound cyberpunk. The usage of 80s or 80s inspired music also makes sense since cyberpunk is a speculative future from the perspective of people in the 80s. Apart from those genres, metal, especially industrial metal, is also common as it gives a gritty and tech feel. Vaporwave is an interesting one. It's a genre associated strongly with the internet and the cyberspace visual. The genre blends electronic music, jazz, chillwave, and 70s elevator music together. The variety of music genres in Cyberpunk is also reflected in the Cyberpunk 2077 game radios, which include a wide collection of music like rock, jazz, electronic, metal, hip-hop, or even pop and reggae. Since we're talking about the game Cyberpunk 2077, I want to mention chromatic rock, which is a music genre in the game. It's inspired mostly by glam rock style. You can try searching for the band Samurai to listen to this genre. Even in real life, there are bands that define themselves as cyberpunk, for example, Left Spine Down, which has music mix of electronica, metal, and punk. Seidol is a Japanese industrial and electropop band with cyberpunk imagery. Some other bands to listen to are Gary Newman's Replicas in 1979. This is also considered one of the first cyberpunk music. Cyberpunk album by Billy Idol in 1993. Some other recommendations are Death Grips, Run the Jewels, and Clock DVA. For biopunk, I imagine something similar to cyberpunk but darker and grimmer. Dark synth, industrial metal, EDM, and haunting soundtracks like in the Resident Evil and Parasite Eve are some examples. Neurofunk bands like Noisia and Black Sun Empire would also give a darker tone for this futuristic genre as well. Some specific examples would be projects like Atrium Kasseri, which include dark ambience and ambient industrial. Biopunk Romantica by Corona includes rock, electronic, and metal music. And lastly, Biopunk by Figure is categorized as electronic music. Steampunk music usually combines classic traditional sounds with eclectic elements. Just like cyberpunk music and its electronic sounds, steampunk music often has an industrial and brass-like feel. It mixes classic instruments like the violin and piano with other instruments like the hurdy-gurdy, acoustic guitar, saxophone, pipe organ, or even synthesizers. Even though steampunk is Victorian inspired, its music isn't essentially Victorian. Prominent music genres in most steampunk playlists are dark cabaret, folk rock, gothic rock, industrial, synthpop, dark wave, new wave, and ragtime. And even though jazz and swing have nothing to do with Victorian, actually just like every other bands I've just listed, jazz and swing are also very common in steampunk soundtracks, if not in every soundtracks. Some other less famous genres but are still usually found in steampunk playlists are hip-hop opera and shap-hop. There are a lot of bands that define themselves as steampunk, and most of them can be easily identified with their steampunk fashion and motifs like Steam-Powered Giraffe, The Cock is Dead, Clockwork Dolls, Burning Process, and Ghostfire. Clockpunk is based on the Renaissance era plus Cocks and Gears. There are not a lot of movies or books or anything to base it on, but we can totally take a look at Italian Renaissance music, which include madrigal, a vocal music style without instruments and often with several voices, frottola, secular song often with light and fun tone. Motet, sacred choral song in a cappella style. Lute song, the type of music often use solo voice with the sound of lute, of course. However, even though we have this list of music, it's kind of hard to find a modern interpretation of these genres. At least it's hard for me. So if you do have some good recommendation, please don't gatekeep. So, after my own failed attempt, I tried to find musicals based on the Italian Renaissance instead, but I was also surprised to find out just how little of these musicals we have. So, some examples of movies and musical I have found are Michelangelo, the Caravaggio rock musical, The Firebrand of Florence, The Glorious Ones by Faherty and Ahrens, and I Medici series. The genres for Dieselpunk, a future based on the 1920s, are blues, jazz, ragtime, cabaret, big band, swing, and bluegrass. The music can kind of overlap with steampunk, especially when jazz, swing, and cabaret are the main genres of both. Some recommended bands of the genres I just mentioned are Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, Royal Crown Venue, Indigo Swing, and the Papini Sisters. Jazz gives the Art Deco vibe and it links well with the optimistic Hortensian style Dieselpunk, or as we call it Decopunk. But if you want something dark, or you can say if you want something for Pie-Craftian version of Dieselpunk, then you can take inspiration from military marches, wartime, or orchestral music. For example, I think Sucker Punch orchestral and rock soundtracks are some of the best ones out there. But orchestral music can also be used for Hortensian stories, like how Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow soundtrack include orchestral score and jazz. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the list I'm giving is just a general idea, so you don't really need to rely only on these genres. For example, songs in the big O anime might be classical, jazz, funk, and rock, but Clown Age Symphony theme song from Last Exile uses J-pop and electronic music. Atompunk is based roughly on the atomic age around 1940s to 1960s. So of course we'll take inspiration from space age pop like Esquivel and Raymond Scott, and we still stick with jazz and big band music. Wait, jazz is in 3 subgenres already? Other genres popular in those times are rock and roll, funk, blues, and soul. Some other less well-known genres I want to introduce are exotica, like Martin Denny, Les Baxter, and Arthur Lyman. Doo-wop, which is kind of like optimism 50s vibe, like the Platters and the Drifters. Rockabilly, like Carl Perkins. German's krautrock or Komische, like Orion 2000. And folk music, which is often found in classic sci-fi movies since the 50s. Personally, I also think psychedelic rock and psychedelic lounge would fit perfectly, especially one that have airy string ensembles, high-pitched sounds, and electronic noises. To put it simply, the one that sounds like space-age gadget or robot. The new Albin Guide to Analog Consciousness, an Atompunk opera, which is one of the Paul Severas musicals, also includes airy noises and broadcast signal sounds. Now, Solarpunk. The genre that focuses on the world, uses of green technology, and is inspired by traditional, local, and community living. Some key elements needed in Solarpunk playlists are major keys to express its positive tone, sounds that are calm and soothing, or ethnically inspired sounds. The first thing that came to my mind is lo-fi. I know it's not the most perfect one, but it fits with the vibe, especially Nujeba's lo-fi hip-hop tracks. Some more chill music genres for Solarpunk are ambient, chill out, down-tempo, and chill wave, like Washout and Toroemo. Alternatively, neo-folk and world music also go well with Solarpunk, like Tinariven and Otiken. Some other artists that capture the eco and futuristic vibe well are Carbon-Based Lifeform and Bernie Krause. Now that we are done with Solarpunk, let's discuss its counterpart, Lunarpunk. There are 2 main concepts of Lunarpunk. One is a safe space for nightlife, and another one, which is becoming more mainstream from what I can see right now, is the future with individualism and spirituality. For the first concept of futuristic eco-chill nightlife, we can go with neo-folk and chillwave similar to Solarpunk. Or if you want something more stimulating, let's say, another recommended genre is ambient music like Spangle and Solar Fields. Considering the spiritual aspects of Lunarpunk, I immediately think of my whimsical music list like gothic rock, dark wave, or ethereal wave bands such as The Cure, Cocteau Twins, and Dead Can Dance. Now, we'll quickly go through some other less well-known subgenres. For Rococo punk, I'll go with punk rock, since it is so very fitting with the French Revolution, protests, and the entire class whole thing, especially French punk rock songs about monarchy and important events like Louis XIV Love His Legs by the Crooks, Hanky Panky's Cactus, Julie. Another option is French protest songs, aside from the famous Do You Hear the People Sing from Les Miserables, of course. Some examples are Les Nouveaux Partisans by Dominique Grange, Vietnam 67 by Colette Magny, Les Rois de la Réforme and Il est 5 heures by Jacques Dutronc, and lastly Le Chant des Partisans. If we step further from the rebellion theme, we can include some other genres that mix classical elements with modern sounds like Baroque pop, for example Joanna Newsom, The Left Banker, and Rufus Wainwright. And another one is operatic rock. The reason I include this one is because after I discovered Mozart's opera rock, I cannot stop thinking of what if we can have this style of music but for French Baroque era history. I think it would be cool. I think glam rock and new romantic would also fit the vibrant makeup often found in Rococo punk photos as well. And if there's an anime for anything related to this subgenre, it's a must to use songs from visual kei bands, especially Tanbike kind of bands, and especially Versailles. Similar to clockpunk, it is hard to find musicals about this era but with more modern sound. But I love soundtracks from Marie Antoinette movies, which include new wave, post-punk, rock, and electronic. Steampunk is definitely going to have Eastern influenced music, especially East Asia. One big inspiration, though the series is not really steampunk, is Avatar: The Last Airbender, which uses a lot of Chinese instruments like pipa, erhu, yueqin, and some other instruments and then mix with modern sounds. They actually also use djembe, an instrument originated from West Africa. It was a pleasant surprise for me when I discovered that there is a steampunk album by Jos Varen. For music with lyrics, I'd say world music, electronic gushin, and neo-folk. I don't know a lot of Chinese bands, but I do have some favorite Mongolian bands. They are not interchangeable, I know, but I still want to recommend these bands anyway. So examples are Hangai, The Who, or Tiken, Shanren, this one is actually Chinese, and I've just discovered Nini Music, which is a Vietnamese metal artist recently. For Steampunk, I wanted to say shanty and call it a day, but no, I think we can do better than that. Steampunk is not only about pirate, it's a speculative future of the golden age of piracy era, kind of like how steampunk is. So I think it would be nice to bring up Aurelio Volta's To the Bottom of the Sea album, which includes steampunk dark cabaret song with a pirate theme. Some other modern shanty and pirate metal bands like Stormfront, Alestorm, and Ye Banished Pirates would also fit this vibe. The Longest Johns is not pirate metal, but they have a vast collection of shanties. As I said, Steampunk is not only about pirates, but it's also about marines, so you can check marine military music as well. I mean, shanty was actually originally a maritime work song anyway. It would also be cool to rewind back a bit and take a look at music from the golden age of piracy, from the 1650s to the 1730s. That means classical music should also fit. I imagine pipe organ could be a big thing somehow. It reminds me of that particular Davy Jones scenes from Pirates of the Caribbean. But not every ship is going to have that massive instrument built in, so I'd say accordion classical music just because. For hydropunk, there's not a lot of story or clear visual concept for hydropunk. Judging by the overall visuals I can see on the internet, most of them resemble solarpunk or biopunk but with plenty of water. So most of the genres might overlap with Solarpunk, including something like chillwave and downtempo. One particular track I found is the Sphere of No Form track for the Substrata album by Biosphere, which incorporates water sound. For something similar to biopunk or darker, you can try darkwave and industrial ambience. Most of the scrappunk movies are overlapped with apocalypse motifs, so we can take inspiration from those. When we talk about the post-apocalypse soundtracks, it is not easy to take Mad Max out of the conversation. Its music is mostly industrial metal and death metal, but with some alteration for these songs to fit with the film's score. Music genres from other films like Wall-E and Elysium include heavy metal, pop rock, electronic, and orchestral. One great example that doesn't come from movies is Extinction Level Event, The Final World Font, where Gustav rhymes, which is a hip-hop album based on the apocalypse world. In conclusion, if you want a scrappunk playlist, you can add industrial metal and death metal without a doubt, and maybe some hip-hop and rock. And I'd suggest garage rock or garage punk for a grunge effect and that raw energy. I created this video because it might help some people find ideas for music to use in their games, RPGs, or as background music while writing, or maybe some other things, I don't know. I'm not sure if you enjoy videos where I just simply share lists like this, but if you do, please comment, or share to let me know. And again, this is just my opinion and observation. You are free to disagree or add more suggestions. And that's it for today. Hope you have a nice day. See you on the next journey. Now do you see why I can't just list all of these genres in my Cyberpunk video? I thought this would be a cute, short and video, but nope, not at all.